Howdy dowdy bug buds, welcome back to part 2 in my Uncomfortable Encounters mini-series. This time we're gonna go over some more light-hearted stories, cause making last video felt draining to say the least. So without further ado, onto the video. Okie dokie, you know the drill, going home from uni, late at night, blah blah blah. So I got on board the train, and honestly, it was quite peaceful for once. But of course, this peace was short-lived when a bunch of uni students came on at the next stop. And let's just say they had a little too much grape juice to drink, if you get my drift, wink wink. As soon as they got on board, they immediately started making a racket. And normally, I don't really like complaining about groups of friends talking a lot, just cause I myself can be quite a bit of a chatterbox. But let me tell you, these guys were loud. It wouldn't even have been half as bad if they weren't all blasting their music without headphones on. It actually felt like they were all competing to see who could find the loudest songs. But shortly after, they must have gotten bored because they then began swinging around the main pole, to the point one of them started vomiting on the floor. Also, slightly off topic, but I have a genuine question. What are you even meant to do when someone vomits on a train? It's not like there are any bins, nor are there any tissues or something else to clean it up with. Because, honestly, I still have no clue. Anyway, afterwards they decided to flee the scene, and initially they were going to go downstairs. But then one of them made eye contact with me and decided that they should go upstairs instead. He came up and introduced himself as Guy, which, like always, isn't their actual name. He just radiated that alpha bro energy, so it felt fitting. The other two, I'm not gonna bother naming, mainly because I didn't really interact with them, so it'd feel weird to name them and then almost never mention them again. Now, take a guess on what Guy said to me next, because personally, I had no clue on what to expect. You ready for it? Drum roll, dum da da dum 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 dum. For the first time in my life, a guy asked me for my number. But as much as I was flattered, 1, I'm not really into dating complete strangers, 2, I didn't really have the time to be dating in the first place, and 3, from what I saw of him before, what with the whole playing music loudly without headphones on and actively encouraging his friends to keep spinning till one of them fell or vomited, he didn't really have a personality I'd mesh well with. So, sadly, I turned him down, saying that I wasn't really interested in forming a relationship. And I ended up high-key embarrassing myself, because apparently he wasn't even after my number for himself, but rather for his sister. Yeah, so he informed me that his sister was also a uni student, and that she was a big fan of Victorious. Now, I should also probably mention now that this took place during that one period a couple of years back where Victorious became trending again. Guy then told me that, in particular, she really loved the character of Jade West, which honestly can't even blame her for, cause Jade was iconic. Anyway, the reason he brought up Jade was because according to him, I looked like a male version of Liz Gillies, which would be perfect for his sister for some reason. So, in short, he wanted to set me up with his sister because I somehow looked like the male version of one of her favourite childhood characters. Yep, logic nowhere to be found. Now, it was probably the grape juice talking, but the dude definitely needed glasses, because I am by no means an attractive person, and to say I even look remotely similar to her feels like a straight up insult to Liz. Also, the thing is, I still don't get where it came from. Like, sure, I was wearing black on black on black on black, but it's not like I was even wearing something inherently goth-like. If anything, I was closer to looking like a Jughead wannabe. Now, if I had black nail polish, or piercings, or coloured streaks, or even a choker, sure, I could potentially see why, but I wasn't. And more importantly, my face doesn't even look remotely similar to hers, so I don't even know how he jumped to that conclusion. But hey, why should I complain? A compliment is a compliment, and I'll take what I can get. And even though it probably wasn't intended to be a compliment, the thing is, to me it was, and I'm going to continue interpreting it that way, cause hello, it's Liz Gillies. Anyway, back on track. Guy then proceeded to show me her profile, and after seeing it, I could definitely understand why he said his sister was a massive fan. From her hair to her makeup to her outfit, they were all very Jade West inspired. He then asked if I was interested, and I know I probably should have just been upfront and told him I'm only into guys, but even if he was super friendly, it wasn't exactly something I like disclosing to strangers anymore, just cause, you know, didn't want another one of these situations. Instead, I just said something along the lines of, sorry, I'm already dating someone. And surprisingly, he was actually quite respectful of that, cause he quickly apologized. Not long after, he left with his two buddies, and from the distance I could hear them teasing him by playing songs from, you guessed it, Victorious. And let me tell you, it was so awkward. I could feel people behind me peering into the back of my skull, knowing full well it was partly because of me. But on the bright side, I actually like the songs. Take a Hint, Give It Up and You Don't Know Me are bops to this day, and I full-heartedly stand by that. And maybe that's why it didn't bother me as much, cause typically it feels as though the people that publicly blast their music tend to have the absolute worst taste in music. Plus, they were only on the train for like 2 more stops, so luckily it didn't even last that long. Rightio, so in my second year of uni, one of my finance courses had compulsory labs every fortnight, and in these labs we were essentially given a set of tests to complete where we had to apply the theory we just learnt on real world cases. Now, tests isn't exactly the right word, because even though you're expected to complete them by the end of the lab, you were given until the end of the week to finish them, and this was mainly because way too many people were having tech problems. So the tutor decided it was just easier to extend it than deal with like 50 individual people pestering him each fortnight. But the thing is, even though you had until the weekend to complete it, you still had to attend the labs, because that was the only way you would have access to the questions. And before you ask, no, you couldn't just ask your friend to get the questions for you. Each person had their own set of unique questions based on their assigned companies, and because these companies changed every fortnight, you had to go in to know your new set. Now, I also want to mention that the lab doors were automatic, so attendance was marked by swiping your student ID. That way, they would actually know who was present. And because these doors were automatic, they would immediately shut after 10 minutes. It didn't matter how many times you swiped them. If you were late, you were completely locked out, so you needed to be on time or else you wouldn't get the marks for the fortnight. And with it being a finance course, you did not want to waste any marks. And as you've probably guessed, this story takes place on one of these days, in particular on the second bus there. As per usual, I got on, but because it was early in the morning, it was quite packed. So I had to sit at the front, and seated to my left was a gal who I shall refer to as Harmony. As more and more people came on, it was becoming increasingly crowded. So Harmony ended up asking if it was possible for her to lay her guitar horizontally across my lap. And of course I said yes, because why would I say no? This isn't exactly something new to me either. Legit, I've been asked to hold so many things, it should be alarming at this point. I'm talking about canvases, rugs, potted plants. At one point I was even asked to hold an old TV box. So half a guitar was nothing for me. And before you ask, no, I have no idea why it happens so often. You know, to be honest, I could probably make a video on all the things I've been asked to hold. I'm not too sure how interesting it'd be though, because they're pretty short stories. But if it's something you'd like to see, let me know in the comments section. Anyway, back on track. So we started making small talk, and it turns out the reason she was going to uni so early was so she could meet up with her bandmates. That way they would have enough time to practice for their gig later that night. The rest of the conversation was pretty stock standard stuff, but I did find out that she also played Pokemon Go, so I got a new friend request at least. As we continued the bus ride, traffic seemed to have worsened because the bus kept suddenly stopping over and over, and my stomach was not having it. I've mentioned it before, but I have pretty bad motion sickness, so a bus that was constantly shaking and braking every 10 seconds was by all means not pleasant. Luckily, I learnt a while back to always carry gum around, that way I'd be prepared for these types of situations. I ended up giving a piece to Harmony and we continued to chat like before. But then, the bus took one massive break, and because I was facing Harmony, she was thrown onto me. Now, this is why I specified almost in the title of the video, because when she landed, her lips just barely missed my own. And when I say landed, I mean plummeted. Hard. It hurt. This wasn't what anime promised me. I was lied to. It felt closer to a soft rock smashing into my face. And if I had to describe what the quote-unquote kiss felt like, I would have to say cold, wet, and sticky. So yeah, nowhere near as romantic as you'd expect. But then again, I'm biased for obvious reasons. Maybe I would have had butterflies had it been a hot guy instead, who knows. We awkwardly brushed it off, and I want to say that we continued the bus ride, but after about 20 minutes, we'd moved about 4 feet in total. So the bus driver ended up telling everyone to get out and walk if we had to be somewhere. And because I had my lab in about half an hour, it meant I had to walk the remaining distance. Harmony, on the other hand, stayed on the bus because apparently all her bandmates were stuck in traffic too. So we said our goodbyes and went our different ways. Now, I had no clue where I was going. I was literally just following this random person in front of me and hoping for the best. And luckily, after what felt like a solid 25 minutes of walking, I finally made it on campus. But I still needed to make it to the lab, so I bolted as fast as I could. And at the time, I hadn't done any proper exercise in quite a while, so running was a big mistake. But I made it, and with 2 minutes to spare too. Funnily enough, when I walked in, there were only 2 other students there, and by 10 past, there were only 6 people in total. When the tutor arrived, he was so confused as to why no one was there, and we simply told him about the traffic situation. So in the end, he decided to cancel the lab altogether, and simply just emailed everyone their companies and questions. So in short, all that walking and running was for nothing. But honestly, the worst part of this whole experience is that now the accidental falling and kissing trope is ruined for me. Just because anytime I see it, I'm immediately reminded of how painful, awkward, and unromantic it truly is. So rest in peace, one of my all-time favorite guilty pleasure tropes. You will be missed. But then again, I did make a new friend on Pokemon Go, so there was some good that came out of it. Okie dokie, and that should take us to the end of this video. Thanks for staying so long. As per usual, if it's not too much trouble, feel free to like and subscribe, it'd mean the world to me. And if you want, let me know in the comment section what your favourite Victoria song is. Also, did you know that Victoria Justice has been making music again, and her songs are actually mint? Treat Myself is such a vibe, and I'm so glad that she's making music again. And because I know I'll get blasted if I don't mention it, yes, I'm a fan of Ariana Grande too. In My Head and Fake Smile are some of my all-time favourite songs, so you can go ahead and put your pitchforks down. Similarly, if you've also had a cringy anime-esque accidental kiss story, let me know how that turned out too. With that said, stay safe and don't let the bed bugs bite. Love you all, bye bye!